This month's video is coming from the deepest part of my heart because it is a journey that is very dear to me. As a single mother of two, I have been able to live my life based on some notions, some standards, some that has affected me, some that I'm learning from, just that has some that has impacted me, and some that is actually transforming me. And I figured that one of the reasons I had this awakening is to help women like myself. And because of that, my brand is mainly majorly about single mothers and intentional women that are aspiring to become a better version of themselves. And subsequently, I realized that the more I talk about this, the more I share my experience, the better I get, and the greater chance people like myself get to have clarity, answers to their questions, and understanding how they can actually navigate their life. Honestly, the video series of this month I'm recording today is not actually what I should be doing today. But because something happened earlier today that made me care to understand some certain parts of me. And I figure that I actually have a month where I have planned to talk about single mothers. And because I'm already in the flow state, I've already had an encounter that is about single mothers and how she can actually navigate her life and how I have been able to live my life as a whole. So I just thought that let me just make the video once and for all and talk my heart out about it, and hopefully I can actually feel better. So this month's YouTube series is solely about single mothers, and it is starting from the idea of transforming your story as a single mom. Because one thing I've learned over the years that has helped me become a better version of myself is understanding that everything that is happening to me is for a reason. And because it is for a reason, I have to transform my story. I have to make sure I am becoming better out of what has happened to me. So the first series is going to be about transforming your story. So if you're a single mother looking for ways you can actually become better and create a new life, a new pattern entirely to the way your life is, I'm very, very sure and I'm confident, inshallah, by the infinite mercy of Allah, I am going to help you gain clarity on how you can transform your story as a single mother, which is one. And the second week in April is going to be about how you can balance work, motherhood, self-care as a single mother. Because one thing about being a single mother is that it takes a whole lot of stress. It takes a whole lot of toil. It is just like you're trying to put three or four, not even three or four, multiple duties that should be distributed among the mother and the father, and you are shouldering the whole of that. So it takes a lot of courage, a lot of decision, a lot of continuous motivation and determination that eventually sum up into your discipline to be able to be put up to every single requirement of what your life will look like. So the second series is going to be about how you can balance work, single motherhood, and how you can actually care for yourself. Because sometimes we are so focused, we are so entangled in taking care of those children that we forget ourselves. We are so worked up. We're trying to get the needs and necessary items for our children that we forget to take care of ourselves. And that is actually creating a good. I can't forget the time I had to take some blood pressure tablets. I had to go take malaria typhoid tablets and all of that. And eventually I figured that it was because I was not taking care of myself. I was not feeding properly and I was not having enough rest. And when I was able to understand those three concepts, my life became better. So it is not because you have everything figured out, but understanding that when it is time to take a break, you actually need to take a break. And the third video is going to be about financial empowerment as a single mother. This is one thing I battled with that I'm still battling with. And it is one of the greatest things that women are always scared of when it comes to taking the decision of living a marriage that is not working for them. They are always scared of how they will be able to survive, how they can sustain themselves and their kids. And it is nothing to shy away from. It is the reality. I've been there. I understand what it feels like for you to have that tight corner you can't actually count on. And you know that subsequently you don't know how to find your way around it. But for those that have actually decided to become a single mother, how can you actually gain your financial empowerment again? This is not coming from a woman that has everything figured out, but I am also on the journey to become better. So, based on my knowledge, my experience, my situation, my circumstance, my understanding, I am going to help you create ways you can actually become independent as regards to your finances. And the last video series for this month is going to be love, dating, relationship, and a single one. This is where I can say most of the problem comes from. As a single mother, we want somebody that can actually understand us. We want somebody that can probably understand our point of view as regards to our life, our situation, our stories, our needs, our expectations, our wants, our pleasure. But at the same time, we are making a whole lot of mistake choosing a partner because most of the relationship out there should be based on your understanding, your concepts, what is actually going to work for you. Not because somebody says this is good for you. For you to actually step out of a relationship or a marriage that is not helping you, it shows you have clarity to an extent what you want. So why not keep holding on to that thought, that understanding of yours, to pick a partner. And it is not just about picking this partner, but the things that comes after you decide to pick a partner. Is it the heartbreak again, or is it the fear that you keep thinking that how is it going to be if I go into this relationship again? Or what are going to be my expectations? How do I fit in? A lot of that about single mothers, and that's why I've been able to come up with all those topics for this month, which is April. And inshallah, because we're going to be taking it a step at a time. So today's video is going to be about transforming your story as a single mom. So let's get started. One thing I've gotten to realize is that life of a single mother, most people don't understand it. And because they don't just understand it, they tend to neglect, they tend to judge, they tend to say a lot of things. And the reality is that being a single mother is a journey of doubt, is a journey of neglect from others because people are going to perceive you in a manner that why would she have chosen to walk on this path when there are better ways to approach it? But the better ways they feel they are giving you is not actually working for them. And because you have been able to summon the courage to take up that decision, they neglect you and they begin to doubt your process. Not just that they are doubting you, you are also filled with doubt because you're not even so sure of where you are going. What you're certain of is that you want freedom. You want a life that feels like your own. You want a better environment for your children to thrive in, not just survive. Not just survive. And also, it is about societal judgment. And it is not just about the external factors, but what these things mean to you. Because imagine when you're trying to work on yourself to even find sustenance for your children by requesting for loan from somebody you thought would actually understand your situation. And you've realized that instead of them to actually help you, they eventually start judging you based on your decision. And you can imagine that it is not that you are not hearing, but because it is coming from somebody or someone, a situation that you don't even expect it. And it is also about internal battles, trying to stabilize everything about you, trying to justify the fact that you don't have anything to offer your children for now, but you're working towards, but the path is not seeming easy to work on. Or, a lot of struggles like that keep on coming on and on and on. But the reality is that transforming your story is not about perfection. And that is one thing I always love to remind myself now. I have decided to always tell myself that whatever I'm able to achieve in a year is success, is still progress, because it is not about perfection. The more I try to chase perfection, the harder it gets for me to actually achieve anything tangible. And that creates a kind of loophole within me, like I'm not even existing, I'm not even living, I'm just existing like somebody that doesn't even have a purpose. But you should understand that transforming your story is not about perfection. It is about resilience. You understanding that every single aspect of your life comes with challenges, and each challenge is meant to take you to become a better version of yourself. Not that something is not going to happen, not that your life, your decision, everything is not going to be questioned, but you're trying to understand that you have to be able to walk through that path to become a better version of yourself. Transforming your story is also about growth because no matter what has happened to you, it is having either one lesson, one note, one sentence, one acknowledgement to your existence. Imagine the kind of life you are living. Imagine the life you are living now. The decisions you're taking now are actually facilitated by what has happened to you before. You know better because of what has happened to you 2 years ago, 3 years ago, 4 years ago, 5 years, 10 years ago. You wouldn't have gotten that understanding, that conviction about the kind of person you want to be, the kind of marriage you want to have, the kind of relationship you want to keep. if you hadn't gone through that situation. And that is what growth entails. And it is also about consciously choosing your narrative. I remember there is a video I actually wanted to work on, which I must have done, inshallah. That is the concept I have been able to understand based on my life, consciously choosing myself. And that is a woman shouldn't be saddled with the responsibility of bearing children alone. She also needs to create a life within herself she can also call a home. Not because she does not want to be submissive, but because she needs to be a whole before she can take part in anything that requires her full attention in life. That is a narrative I consciously keep telling to myself. Because I figure that what is this life about when you're not intentional? What is that marriage about when it does not have any growth to you? What is that relationship, that companionship, that struggle, that battles you're fighting with somebody that does not even deserve that much attention? Now imagine a woman coming into this world just to nurture children alone and be under the influence of a man. What is such life about? So I have decided to bring up that narrative about myself consciously, subconsciously, that as a woman, I deserve to have a better life. I deserve to live the life of purpose and intention. And because of that, that is one of the core reasons of transformation. You gaining clarity and narrative of how your life should be about. So in this video, we are going to be covering a lot of sections because this is how I am able to get to where I am today. And Alhamdulillah, I can't thank Allah enough that has helped me to get to where I am today because it has not been easy. That is one thing I want you to understand. Because if somebody is telling you, don't worry, within 2 months, 3 months, 3 months, 1 year, 2 years, you're going to get settled. It's a blunt lie. Even if your finances are stabilized, you're still going to be having your emotions in question. You're still going to be having your mentals in question. You're still going to be having that difficulty trying to choose a partner that would not take you back to where you are coming from. There are so much struggle that we battle with as a single mother. And because of that, we're going to be talking about the emotional realities of the journey. Before you can actually transform your life, what is it about? What does it entail? How does it work? How can you actually do it? So we're going to be talking about the realities, not just about fantasies. These are the real life struggle, the real life realities I have been able to battle with and I've been able to overcome to transform my journey as a single mother of two. And we're also going to be covering the challenges and obstacles. One thing I always talk about is that the moment you decide that you want to become a better version of yourself, there are going to be challenges. There are going to be struggles. There are going to be a lot of effort, resilience, a lot of doubt that you won't even know where they're coming from, a lot of obstacles because you are aware, you know something needs to be done. Unlike somebody that does not even pay attention to what needs to be done. So on this journey of transforming your life, there are going to be challenges, there are going to be obstacles. That is, these challenges and obstacles are going to be coming from both internal and external. Because to actually change your life, something needs to be changed within you. History will continue to repeat itself until you change something about yourself. So this battle, these challenges, they come in from inside yourself, either emotionally, your belief system, your mindset, your orientation, your habits, your lifestyles, your patterns. These are the things that are coming internally. And externally, societal judgment, their perception, their thoughts, there are a lot of things that comes from the outside world, either what is just happening to you at your workplace or where your children are going to school and the likes of them. We are also going to be addressing that. And we're also going to be looking at the mindset required because one thing I have always talk about is that transformation, growth, healing starts from the mind. Because you see that mind is your internal programming. And you can't become a better version of yourself if you don't start from this concept. Every single aspect of our life is based on our mindset. Our mindset controls our beliefs, our emotions, and our habits, and also shaping our realities in manner we can't even control. The reason why some of us are stuck in that situation, our cycle, is because our mindset is still fixed. Our mindset contains a lot of chaos, contains a lot of restrainment, contains a lot of friction until we're able to release that tension. That is when we can actually say we are transforming our life. So the mindset that is required to heal and thrive. And we're also going to be talking about practical steps. These are steps that I have used. They are the things that have been working for me, that still keep working for me, to rewrite your story intentionally. And I always say to myself, One thing I would always love to do differently, if I'm able to come out of an abusive relationship and marriage, is to live intentionally. Because what is the life about when you're not intentional about your choices, when you're not intentional about your home, when you're not intentional about your career, when you're not intentional about your business? So these are the areas we're going to be touching on, and we're going to be taking it the very first step, which is the reality of early single motherhood. That is for you to actually understand the journey. You see, I actually started out as a single mother at age 27. That is when I had my two kids, my daughter and my son. And you see, there is something called the early age of single motherhood. And what actually happened there is that you keep battling with yourself as if you're living in nightmare. It's as if it is something you never prepared for. It is something that you don't even understand how to go about it. But you see, that phase is very important because that is the foundation of everything we are going to be talking about here. If you hadn't gone through that pain, you wouldn't know the reason why you are choosing to live in a better house now. If you hadn't gone through abusive relationship, you won't know why you need emotional safety in your next partner. So the all of that reality of early single motherhood is where the foundation lies. That is the starting point because many single mothers start with survival mode. And I actually started from that. I won't lie to you. I have to be just here. I have to be plain and open. Survival mode is just like you going out there, work for you to sustain yourself for the day, and the cycle continues. No other hope, no other expectation, no other thing, just for you to keep yourself up going with your kids. Because these are the things we struggle with, obviously. There are financial struggles, there are emotional exhaustion. You know, financial struggles, just somebody like us, like myself, I started with nothing in my account. I remember the day I went to my sister's place, I had just 7,000 naira in my OPA account. After transferring 5,000 naira to the Shafe that helped me bring my load down to our place, I had just 2,000 naira left. And that 1,000 naira, I went out to buy pepe and crayfish, and that was the end of it. For like 2, 3, 4, 5 weeks, 2 months, I had nothing enter my account. So it is real. It is nothing to shy away from. That is just a journey. That is the pathway. That is what happens at early single motherhood stage. You're going to be going into survival mode because of your finances and emotional exhaustion. Because at that point you are like, am I actually going to be carrying the whole of this on my own? You know, that emotional draining energy that comes from the next morning, we are going to be eating. The kids are going to school. I need to get to work. Or probably I've changed my workplace. I don't even know where to look up to again. Or I don't even have a house again. My kids are not even well, they're not sleeping well. The all of that, it's exhausting emotionally. And also isolation from social life or family. Because I remember then I told myself no calls from any relatives. Because the more they keep calling me, the harder it gets for me. They keep telling me, my ex-husband did this, he said this, he's about to do this. You were just exhausting me. And because of that, I had to isolate myself. And that is just what happens. In fact, sometimes you need to isolate yourself so that you can listen to yourself think. It is not because you don't want to familiarize or socialize, but because at that point, that is the early age of single motherhood. So if you're thinking or you're aspiring that somebody is telling you, when you become a single mother, you travel out of the world. I understand for some of us that are actually financial independent. Of course, people are like that, that financially they are just doing fine. But the emotional and the social critics is one thing you cannot run away from, except to tackle it from the base, which is your mindset, and we are getting into that shortly. So what is happening is that survival mode is not weakness, it is adaptation under extreme pressure. And I think I keep telling to myself then that I understand this is a phase I have to work on, but I think I just have to do it. I just have to keep moving. I just have to keep going on. And eventually, I figure that at that point, if you're not careful, you begin to have a lot of internal struggle. But that is just it. One way or the other, you will have it. But the faster you're going to come out of it is when you are able to feed your mind that you are actually on the path to become better. And subsequently, if you keep navigating on this path without resenting yourself or judging yourself, you will come out better. You know, sometimes you just feel like you're just getting through the day, or with little energy, you don't even have your dreams coming to life again. The whole of these are the reality of early single motherhood. Now let's talk about the internal struggles you face because ideally we still face it even up till now. And for somebody like me that is always yearning for Something should be done that is always yearning to become better. I always face self doubt, and it is one thing you cannot run away from because you keep thinking, am I even enough? Can I do this alone? And do you know where the problem lies is that you keep telling yourself that because socially or societal concepts, the religious or belief concepts and cultural concepts keep dictating to us and telling us you can't do it enough. And of course, you're going to be facing a lot of self doubt. And that is because people will always keep telling you that you can't do this alone. But reality, when you actually face some difficulties, some trial times, you would ask yourself, am I enough? Can I do this alone? But that is actually the essence of the cute playing tricks on you. Feeling selfish for wanting personal happiness. You might be questioning yourself because I remember then I keep asking myself, is it that this happiness I'm looking for, is it too much? Is it that I don't even deserve it? Or should I just run back? That is just your guilty conscience coming out, but it is not actually true. It is just because you are still on the face and you are struggling internally, and your mind needs to hold on to something to give it a closure. Not necessarily for you to run back to where you're coming from, but for you to actually acknowledge the fact that you want a better life. And the phase you're actually working on is just the beginning. It's just the stepping stone. It's just the foundation of everything you want to lay down. So because of that, you are always going to be having that thought. And you can also be having a lot of comparison to others that, maybe you are behind or somebody's already doing better. But at this point, you need to also understand your societal, cultural, and religious judgment for being a single mother because this is where most of the problem comes from. And we're going to be talking about that under the mindset for transformation because sometimes we need to be able to ignore, let go, walk away from all those beliefs and norms of the society, of the culture, and also of the religion because they have actually pinpointed a kind of image, a kind of projection of what a woman lifestyle should look like. And when she's now navigating on the path that is different from that, they would always, always have a thing to say. And that is controlling and affecting the way we are all living our life, especially as a single mother. The reason why most of us are not even confident in our own skin is because people said this, culture says this, society says this, religion says this. And whereas that is not the way life should be done. And most of these things are just a blindfold. Because if you don't understand your society, your culture, your religion properly, you're going to fall victim of your circumstance. So because of that, you might be comparing yourself to others. Oh, this lady is doing this. And there is one thing I really want you to understand at this point. You see, when you are embarking on the journey of becoming a single mother, I need you to listen to this closely. Some people have a financially independent family that they are doing fine financially. So you can't compare the time you are going to be needing to transform your story to such women. Some people, they don't have that money, but they have people that are willing to accept them, or they have been able to pay for transformation that you have not paid for. So you can't expect you are going to be transforming your life like such woman. And that's why I've decided to grow this community, A-Meenah, a strength within. This is a company, a coaching brand, a community that is built for aspiring women, especially single mothers and women that are going to be living intentionally to come home to understand what it takes, what it feels like, to understand the journey of how they can become a better version of themselves, not just walking through the shadows of their own identity, but for them to have clarity that the world they are yearning for actually exists. And because they exist, they need to step into that reality. A-Meenah as Strength Within runs a channel on Telegram, on YouTube, on Instagram, and you can actually be a part of that community. The link is in the description box below. So you need to understand that comparison is joy stealer. You can't always keep dwelling on the fact that somebody is doing better than you. One thing in life is that people would always and always do better than you. People would always and always do better than me. There are so many channels that are better than mine. But we all have the individual message we are passing across. And we are all going to be walking our own path gradually, singly, individually. So what are the external struggles? The first one, which I can say I battled with to an extent financially, is lack of support from family. In fact, you'll be so surprised that those you feel they are going to be helping you, they are going to be reaching out, they are going to be at least taking part in your life, they will be far gone. they will be nowhere to be found. You keep questioning yourself. I thought this person was this. I thought this person used to say this. I thought this person got my back. That is the reality. Oh. People will not always be there for you when you need them the most. That is why we are trying to make ourselves understand that this life should be built upon independency. Not because you are not going to be needing help from people, but because you are going to acknowledge the fact that you are a whole without actually relying on external validation or support. So you're going to be yearning for support from family, even from friends. Oh, this person have always been my friend for a while. This person understands me. This person is actually one of the people that actually encouraged me to become a single mother. Now I'm there. She got married to the man of her dream. She was even saying this, all those flaps around and the likes of them. Do not be fooled because people might not actually support you from your family, from friends, or even or majorly society. Because once you work there, especially the fact that you remain in that environment where you have been married into or you have gotten a family before and eventually decided to begin to stay on your own as a single mother, people are going to be taking that support away from you. Society will always criticize and judge you. And secondly, there is judgment. In fact, unsolicited advice and criticism. Let me take it one at a time. Judgment. Oh my God. I can't imagine the amount of times I've heard. She's so stupid. She's so numb. That good looking man that every woman is aspiring to have, she walked away from him. Can't you see she's so numb? That is one. Or the type of she thought she can actually become better when she leaves. She don't know she's actually a fool. That is another one. Or the concept of in this economy, which woman would dare to leave a marriage? Don't you know how much dairy costs? Don't you know how much rice costs? Don't you know how much they're selling things in the market? And she also decides to leave. Who does that? Look at me. I have to stay in my relationship because I can't actually imagine. Somebody will even tell you, there was a time I left, oh, I had to run back. A lot of judgment, a lot of resentment. Also, solicited advice. See, you know what I will advise you? Go and beg him. You are making it's because of your children. Go and beg him. Once you beg him, he's giving you money for food. Look at the way you are looking. You don't even have money to buy cream. Or they can even tell you to go into relationship. Go and date this one. At least he has married another person. You to move on. Have another man in your life. A lot of advice that will not help you, but will just lead you astray. Or the criticism. Oh my God. Or you want to get a job and they'll be like, you're a single mom. We don't give this job to single mothers. Or you want to get accommodation, they'll be like, I'm sorry, my husband or my husband, there's a way they will paint the name. My husband said that I should not give my house to single mothers. Imagine your husband dictating to you on your own property. A lot of things around. So these are the things you need to understand at the onset. Or workplace challenges. I can't believe my eyes. The day I worked for 3 months and I walked away after 3 months with just 5,000 naira. Then I was earning 35,000 naira. And my goodness, I can't imagine. 35,000 naira month one, month two, month three, and I walked away with 5,000 naira. So the first month, I had to use it for my children's school fees. And the woman was even telling me that, hey, even with the fact that you're a single mother, you have to find a way to get the money. What about your father? Is he not doing anything? Reach out to him. That's how wise women do. They reach out to him. You try to listen to what he wants to say. You neglect the fact that you are trying to be arrogant, you're trying to be pompous, just for the case of just take up these children. And that's because you're a single mother. I can't give you that much discount. Lots of that. And also challenges balancing career and parenting. And this can be so challenging, even up till now. Even up till now, even when you are able to attain that height you are looking for, there are going to be challenges. And it is not because you are guilty or the future does not hold anything beautiful, but because they are just your stepping stone. Just like you are being excluded socially, professionally because of your parental responsibilities, it's a lot to take in. And that is actually the realities, the struggle internally and externally being a single mom. We really need to talk about this, and we need to paint it out. That's why I have decided to take my time to put all of this into writing. And inshallah, because I'm working on a book that is actually about the single motherhood. That is not actually the journey for now. The journey should start, I think, in 2 years because the theme for this next year and 2027 is about starting over, how I'm able to actually become better. And I'll have a whole lot of training on that on my Telegram channel. And the price is just a token. The link is also in the description box. If you are thinking you don't actually know where to start from, how to start your journey from, as an intentional woman that wants to become better, I have the transformation training that talks about how to get your life on track, starting from your life audit, mindset renewal, declutter and realign, keeping the burning fire alive, emotional declutter and realignment, and the soul lot of them. How you can actually begin to breathe life again intentionally for you to become a better version of yourself. So the link is going to be in the description box below. Now that we have talked about understanding the journey and the internal and external struggles, let's take a look at the mindset for transformation, because this video, I've promised that I'm going to be delivering every single words in my heart to make sure that single mothers like myself are able to thrive properly. The first mindset you need to carry that's actually helped me, that I've even decided to embark on, that I've been able to make plain now because something happened earlier that has made me record this video. And because of that, the main decision I actually had came from this mindset, and that is survival to ownership. You see, it is one thing to survive, it is one thing to thrive, it is another thing to actually take ownership of your life. So the moment you are surviving, you are thriving means you are actually taking ownership for your life. You see, you need to shift from just surviving to consciously shaping your life. Whatever anybody has to say, let me tell you something. After year one, year two, year three, you see all those stories will fade away. Even today's news we still grow old. The latest news will turn sour. That is just it. And the thing you can actually do, for example, which we'll be talking about very soon, is how your environment can actually be an hindrance for you to become better. And I think I'm going to be making a whole lot of video on that. Let me put that down because I don't want to forget. I'm going to be talking about this, inshallah, because sometimes the reason why we are not actually becoming better is because we have not actually lived our environment. And your environment can actually be a box. So you need to actually move from just surviving to keep shaping your life. You need to thrive. What exactly is that thing you would have done differently if you're opportune to leave that relationship, that marriage that does not help you? And what I told myself is that I would have loved to live intentionally about my business, about my career, about my finances, about my relationship, about my decisions. Every single aspect of my life will be based on intentional. It will be based on my intention. Something I'm actually intentional, something I'm willing to do, that I'm going to keep doing over and over and over again without the influence of anybody. So you need to give yourself the answer to that question. How exactly do you want to live your life? You're not just surviving now. After the first few months, April 13th, 2023, when I went to my sister's place, I was actually thinking I'm going to start my ready to wear business, and from that, I'm just going to boom have money. But reality is certain. I understand now that people don't actually want to put in the work, they just want to do something for a short while and expect a big return at the end of the day. So the reality is that you need to move from just surviving. You need to thrive. You need to shape your life the way you want it. So how exactly do you want your life to look like in 3 years? Now, I won't tell you to plan for 1 year. I won't tell you to plan for 2 years. Start planning for 3 years, because within 3 years, that's when you actually need that spacing, that time to become better, to be able to see some aspects of your life, the ones that need changes, the one that will be corrected, the one that you even need to let go without even looking back. Because sometimes one of the things I talked about in my transformation, starting over, get your life on track, is that we are holding on too tight to some things that are not required for us to get to the next phase of our life. And that is actually hindering the kind of life we're supposed to be having. You actually want to get there, but there are some things you are holding on to here that does not belong there. Only when you are able to let go of the things that don't belong there can you actually get there. So for you to become a better version of yourself, there are some certain things you are holding on to. And that is you just thinking you're surviving. But you need to be intentional about the choices you're making. And secondly, you need to understand that, you see, survival won't keep you stuck. It's going to make you feel as if you don't have any option. You just want to go through each day. Whichever way you are able to do it, just go back, just have it, just feed. In fact, it can even make you run back those decisions you thought you have left for a while because you're living in survival mode. You're not even intentional about your choices. And because of that, it takes the ownership away from you. It doesn't empower you. It limits you. It gives you a kind of confined environment to belong in because you're not taking charge of your life. So you can actually start this with little affirmation. Though I'm not really a fan of affirmation, but I'm a fan of always repeating some words to myself. Maybe I just sit down, I develop a concept about myself, and I begin to write it down. Or probably I have a concept about myself and I begin to write on it that this is my thought, my perception about this understanding and have. Like, I'm not just surviving, I'm thriving. I'm building a life I choose for me and my child. And I think I remembered something that I actually told myself. There are two things. Don't just survive, thrive. And also, do not be a victim of your circumstance. Because when you're a victim of your circumstance, you won't see beyond your situation. You won't see beyond your circumstance. You should be the hero, not just the victim. And the second mindset you need to have as a single mother that is actually trying to transform a story is from doubt to trust in yourself. I can't overemphasize on how much it took me to reach that circle. One thing I want you to understand is that there is doubt, and I think we talked about it under the internal struggles. You see, that is something that is very, very common and very, very, I don't know, should I call it very, very tricky because it sabotages you from seeing clarity. You know, when you don't trust yourself, you won't be able to understand your worth. And that is because you don't actually trust your instinct. At the point in time I was battling with it, even up till now, I still have doubts. But what I try to do is that I try to acknowledge that perception of myself. I am doubting my situation because I am afraid. I am doubting my decision because I am hungry. I am doubting this part of me because I am so scared of what tomorrow will hold. But it doesn't change the fact that your decision should stand. You see, you don't actually build a better, you don't transform your life when you don't trust your instinct. You don't give yourself a different narrative when you don't trust that your life can be better. You don't become better when you don't trust yourself enough to do better things. And that is one of the hindrance we always have in our mindset. You know, there would always be voices. Honestly, you see, there is no way you want to do something better, something purposeful, and something will not come to your head and say, "Can you actually do this?" Everybody battles with that. But those that are able to achieve good things are those that are able to silence that voice in their head. So you need to trust your instincts. Understand that that decision you're taking, you are capable of it. And mind you, I need to remind you, you might be thinking that the decision you took is actually bad. Nothing is actually good and nothing is actually bad. Your thoughts, your perception, your narrative has made it so. That is why we usually have the psychology to the way we do things. When we see something that is probably something that can hurt us, we always perceive it to be challenging. We always perceive it to be intimidating. We need to get out of this situation. But when we look beyond that out, realize that there is something beneficial that can actually happen to us when we expose ourselves to that thing. So sometimes when you are doubting yourself, you are limiting your capability to become your own woman, the woman you are truly intentional about to become. You need to be able to trust your capabilities. At the point in time I was doubting myself, it got to a point that I got tired of doubting myself. It was not taking me anywhere. Then I told myself, I have to start building life. I have to start dreaming again. I want to be in a better house. I want to have a job. I don't even want to be working for people anymore. I want to have my own company. And that day I affirmed to myself, I am going to own a company. I know this is the foundation anyway, but inshallah, I'm going to come back to this video and watch it and remind myself, I said it and it is happening. I'm going to tell myself, ta-da, here I am. I remember there are so many people that will keep telling me, you don't have anything to show for it. You don't even have a degree, have a likes of it. But I'm going to come back and remind myself, and they will also see. Maybe they are not even there anymore, but I'm going to prove to myself that I'm ready to have a career, even if I don't have a certificate or not. So you need to trust that you can do it. Stop questioning yourself. Even if you do question yourself, silence that part. Try to Prove to yourself that you can do better. The reason why you click on this video is to become better. So why do you think you're still here if you don't want to be better? And you need to choose to trust yourself. And it is something that takes time anyway. But as you begin to practice it, you begin to get better at it. And the third mindset that you really need to have as a single mother trying to become a better version of yourself is from neglect to self priority. And I think I had to construct this English in a manner because I figured that I was actually neglecting myself. And I mentioned this at the introductory part of the video that there was a time I was actually battling with my health. And I figured that the main reason I was battling with it was because I was not feeling well, I was not resting well, and I was not paying attention to my body. I was not feeling well because for me to eat, I'll be like, my children need to eat. So instead of me eating the food, I reserve it for them. Or instead of me relaxing, I feel that on Monday to Friday, I have work. On Friday, I have tutorial. On Saturday, I have tutorial. I want to wash the clothes. I have tutorials on Saturday. So before I go in the morning on Saturday, I need to wash the clothes so that I can dry before I get back. And we usually have poor electricity supply. So by the time I done washing the clothes, I go to this first tutorial. That starts by 10 to 1 or 2. By 2, I move on to the next one, which is the home teaching, and I come back around 4 or 5. And by the time I get back, I'm going to press my clothes because on Sunday I just want to be at home, do nothing. But you know what happened? Sometimes I feel that I have to do everything at once. But trying to do everything at once will actually make you weak, will keep you broken. And at points I realized that I was actually neglecting myself. I was not prioritizing my health, and that was actually affecting me. So you need to understand that as much as you really want to make sure you are there for your children, you also have needs starting from your body because that is your vessel. And I talked about this in one of the monthly Telegram sessions we have on Telegram, on my Telegram channel. That is A-Meenah as Strength Within, the open community. On monthly sessions, I talk about topics that would actually help you transform your life. And there we talked about the life audits. And the life audits, we're able to break down some areas of our life that needs to be audited. And one of the things is that your body is one of the best you need to take care of. And I also talked about that in the challenge. I actually hosted that as the 7 days life audit challenge. And I talked about your body, which is the vessel that can actually be an asset or a liability. Liabilities are the things that take money away from you or good things away from you, while assets are the things that keep adding to your value. So you see, your body, yourself, is one of the greatest assets you can ever invest in. You need to understand that you also have needs. And for those needs to be met, you need to be able to maintain that growth. You also need happiness. It is not just for your child, your happiness also matters. It is easy to neglect yourself, but for you to actually have that sustainable transformation, you need self care, you need education, and you also need personal development. And the fourth mindset that is very, very important that I would always tell to myself every now and then about life. In fact, it was one of the major lessons I had to learn the hard way is that you need to have from scarcity to abundance mindset. Let me tell you something. Scarcity mindset is that I was told multiple times that I don't have anything to offer. Nobody will give me a job. I won't even get paid. Because of that, I have to remain in a confined environment. But do you know when abundance mindset would hit me without my permission? I stumbled on a book, and I think subsequent months I'm going to be talking about three guides that has actually transformed my life to be better. This book is written by Trisha, where she talked about monetize your knowledge, and she was able to break down 4 areas of our life that we can actually monetize. And I figured that there are some things I actually do out of the fact that I'm not being taught that I can do. That is me mixing herbs together to create oil for my hair, to create soap for my body. I do this thing without actually learning them. So I can actually monetize it. And also, there is a part of me that I've been teaching for a while since my secondary school days. And because of that, if I actually grab some books and pieces of this, I can actually teach without actually having the qualification or the certificate as made me, or even tutor in home lessons and some tutorials, which does not necessarily require you to have that certificate. And I also figured that if I enjoy cooking, because sometimes I cook dishes, which I'm not actually going to say I'm a pro, but I love to cook good food. And I also love to, in fact, one of my things I want to learn is that I want to learn how to make pastries because I want to learn how to make meat pie. I love meat pie and I love donuts to an extent. And I love I think meat pie and cakes. So I want to learn how to do meat pie and donuts to an extent. And she was able to open my eyes to a lot of things. And these books are going to be available on my Telegram channel. Books that I have read, videos, guides, tutorials that I have watched that has actually transformed my life. So at that point, I realized that within me, I carry a lot of things and I can begin to tap into it one after the other. And do you know what happened? She also made mention of the point that has actually led me to where I am today. That is using your experience to get money. It is not because you are actually all about the money, but your experience is actually the solution somebody is looking for. And I'm able to get it to understand that I can write about organics, I can write about my life, I can teach about my life. Then I started writing. I figured that I have so much interest in it. And the first book I wrote then was Be Independent as a Woman. I wrote 360 something pages. But as Allah would have it, I don't know, I had to switch on my data when I'm using Google Slides. Everything could not synchronize, and I think I was impatient there, and I could not let it save. So because of that, I thought I should delete it and install the app again. And before I know it, 360 something pages, which is 35 pages or 50 something pages. I was moved to tears. Really moved to tears. So, and that was how I got to understand that you see, scarcity is also a blindfold. But when you're able to tap into your abundance mindset, you can actually become better. There are so many things. Stop seeing your limitations and start seeing possibilities. Whenever something happens to you, don't just look at it from the surface. And this is one thing I thought about in one of the books I wrote to write. Spinning or spinning at the men. We are only looking at our life based on the mere situation, based on what is just happening to us now. Not that we have the full picture of everything. We are only looking at our situation based on what we are seeing now. But we are able to look far beyond and wide, outside what is happening, to realize that there are so many things we can actually achieve. You see, everything that has happened to you, that is what somebody is using to build our wealth. That is what somebody is using to build that purposeful life for ourselves. That is what somebody is using to have a better life. So at this point, you need to stop seeing your limitation and casting possibilities. Because you know, scarcity thinking will make you think that you don't have enough time. I can tell you a whole lot of things I have done. When I'm able to leave the school teaching you, there are certain things I really want to talk about. And that is some things you can actually do, even if you feel you don't have the qualities. You see, there's something called self belief, some perception, some concept you have about yourself. You need to understand that there are certain things you can do, even if you feel or you think there is not enough time, there is no money, there is no energy. These things are lying there. Your talent, they are given to you raw. You need to be able to what? You need to be able to unlock it so that you can do something. 2 years ago, I was not on YouTube. And now I'm here, and I can say that so far, I have made my very first sale selling ebook. I made my very first sale online selling ebook after I have been on social media trying to sell clothing. You know, sometimes we feel that some things we don't have the potential. But the book I was able to just compile together, organic ebook. I sold the book for 500 naira. And I had to stop the hat because I don't even understand the way the whole thing was going. I never knew that it is something I can do, but because I was actually thinking this thing might not work because I've not actually done this and I don't even know how it will go. And because of that, I was thinking that I should stop this or it is not going to work for me. But eventually, something just clicked within me that you made your first sale online selling ebook. Don't you think you can sell more of that? Do you know how long you've been on the social media space trying to sell ready to make clothing and nobody saw you? And you made the very first sale selling ebook. And do you know, my life has actually been able to get better based on everything that I've been able to achieve today is based on teaching. And I also reminded myself that I think teaching is one of the things that has been helping. I was able to get accommodation, I was able to get bed, I was able to enroll my kids in school, I was able to get a smart, I was able to even get a microphone I'm working with my salary. It shows that sometimes there are things we don't actually pay attention to, but they are actually helping us. Some part of us, we really need to start paying attention to those things by saying that your potential is abundance. If you try one method, it doesn't work, try another one. It doesn't work, try another one. And pay attention among those three things. Pay attention to the one that you are most connected with. I actually started a YouTube channel trying to talk about ready to wear fashion business. But the very first video I made, I knew that when I was talking, I was not connected. Like, I had my script, I had the point I want to talk about. But as I'm talking, I feel like I was not actually grounded. Like something inside of me is not expressive enough. And the very first thing I went to YouTube to create something, I don't even have a script. My first video, I just opened the camera and said something. Even the video I recorded before the one I started recording today, no script, it was raw, authentic. And I figured that, wow. And people have always mentioned that there's a way I talk, there's a way I persuade people to do things. There are some things about yourself that you are not actually paying attention to. When you begin to pay attention to them, realize that there are limitless possibilities with you. And if you feel that you don't actually know what to do, I think I'm going to be sharing the book in the description below and also on my Telegram channel. And one day, I think I'm going to be writing something like that for single mothers, how they can actually take charge of their life by trying to monetize their potential, by trying to monetize their knowledge and the things they know. I think I need to note that down as well. Now that we have talked about the mindset you need to have as a single mother, how do you actually navigate this transformation journey? Because that is what the real work is, you know. And I think, Alhamdulillah, because it has not been easy, but we've been able to get to this point. You said the very first thing I would advise you to do for yourself that is very, very important is to be aware of the situation and accept it. And I battled with this for almost a year because I kept on calling my ex-husband. I would reach out to his relatives once in a while. They would say a lot of things. They would talk back. Some would even resent me. Some would fault me. Some would just snub me. Some, instead of them to ease my pain, they just add to it. And that was because I never accepted. You need to accept your story without shame and self-judgment. You are not the first. You're not going to be the last. My dear sister, you see the child they are just giving birth to today. In 15 years, 20 years, go and look at that child. If most of them are not single mothers, they will be, they are going to be single fathers. Eh? They are going to be widows. This is not the end to your life. You see, that life you've had, it's a phase. Yes, it is. It's a phase that you really need to work on. It's a phase you really need to pass. It's a phase that you need to acknowledge that it has happened. And it is actually there to teach you some things about yourself you're not paying attention to. So that is why you need to begin to take charge of your life. You need to begin to take charge of those things you would have wanted to see in your life. So at this point, you need to be aware. You are aware that you're a single mom or the relationship has ended. Fine, accept your story without shame. You need to carry yourself with grace and pious. This scarf I am using, I made it when I was starting my ready to wear business. I think the tag is still there. Yes. And this is still the brand I am bringing, inshallah, in the next 5 years. I'm working towards it. I'm going to be starting my ready to wear brand again. Accept the fact that that part has ended. I couldn't make sales because my ex-husband would tell me it does not like a woman going on social media, taking pictures of clothing. And when I left with most of them, I had to put it on. Even this one is inner wear to a particular abaya I sew. And because the abaya, I can't be putting it on to work for some time, I just had to, find a way to begin to live again. So you have to accept that that part of your life has ended. That phase has ended. You need to understand that painful experiences are part of your journey, but do not define your future. It is painful. It can be so mental draining and challenging that those parts of you you wish would have stayed longer. There is something that situation, that circumstance is trying to dictate to you. But when you refuse to acknowledge that part, you're going to be sabotaged by your own existence. That part of you has ended. If you hadn't gone through that part, you wouldn't know why you want a better relationship. You wouldn't know why you want to build a business. I know why I want to do some things now, unlike before, that I don't even have a clarity. When they ask me then, what kind of life would you have preferred to have? I'll be like, I have a husband, so why should I bother? But I never know that apart from the fact that you have a husband, it should be an addition. not the real sum total of what your life entails. So because of that, you need to write down your story and acknowledge it. And sometimes when you're trying to write out your story, it comes with a lot of painful experience because that is where the healing comes in. And I talked about this in Get Your Life on Track, the transformation masterclass. Healing is not about not feeling the pain, it is transformation of the pain. And I talked about this in one of my videos, I think January or February content, which I talked about how healing truly happens. I'm going to be linking the video in the description box as well. Healing is not the absence of pain, it is the transformation of pain. And you need to release any internal pressure. That part has gone. That part has ended. That part does not exist anymore. And because of that, you want to have a better life. So you need to be aware and also accept that that phase of your life has ended. And this actually helped me a lot. And I started 2024 with a whole new mindset. I went in search of a new job. I was putting on some clothing. Though at the point in time, I was still trying to sell my ready to wear. But I told myself I need to get back to work so I can get my sanity back. I can get my emotions in place. I can also get my mentals in place. And the second thing that you really, really need to work on to navigate your transformation journey is to heal internal wounds. I think there's a saying I usually tell to myself that time heals. It is not actually that time heals. Time heals with acknowledgement. You need to have some serious conversation with yourself. You'll be so surprised that that thing you feel you have let go of, you have gone past, is still haunting you after 7 to 8 or 10 years of your life. That is because you have not been able to confront your self doubt. You have not been able to confront your guilt. You have not been able to confront your shame. Call a spade a spade. Don't lie to yourself. You are hungry. Yes. You are scared. Yes. You are doubting yourself. Yes. You are so disappointed. Yes. Everything you feel, say it out because that is how transformation truly happens. We are not trying to do a shadow walk. We are stepping into the spotlight because we want to see ourselves for who we are. And that's how transformation truly happens. You can't actually heal something you refuse to accept, you refuse to see. You have to call yourself whatever you are. And by the time you acknowledge this, you know exactly where you need to start working from. You know, through journaling, therapy, and mentorship like this, you can actually begin to become better and begin to close that internal wounds. And one thing you should understand is that you see, healing is not linear. They are always going to be setback. It is a marathon. You keep running, you keep doing it until what feels intense does not feel intense anymore. Until you are able to see something like that and you don't feel controlled by it. Until you are able to have a situation maybe happen to you or around you and you don't feel that intensity anymore. Until you are not controlled by that feeling anymore, that's when you can actually say you are healing. So sometimes you can actually begin to up yourself, celebrate small victories. For example, there was a time I was actually in my workplace and there was this conversation about single mothers, and there was this imam, imagine, and he said, he was telling them that, look, we had a kind of seminar, and the seminar was about woman marriages and the likes of them. So I stood up that day and I asked a question. I said, why is it that we are always talking about marriages? Why is nobody talking about the things that needs to be put in place before you actually get married? We always talk about the fact that when you're married, a woman needs to be in this circle, she needs to be in this confinement, she needs to have this understanding, she needs to, be the one that's put in the work. Why are we not actually talking about the roles, the responsibilities, the duties of the men as well? Why is anybody not talking about the fact that men also have work to be done and they need to put these things in place? So it is not a matter of, as a woman, you need to take note or take charge. But as a couple, as two people that are trying to build a life that they are able to bring children into, there are certain things you need to address before marriage. And I think the woman or the mom then, I can't seem to remember vividly, was asking that, why am I pinpointing this topic that I think she asked jokingly, kind of that, are you a single mother or have you had such encounter? I said, yes, I am a single mother of two. And one thing I have learned is that we are not actually talking about the elephant in the room. Before you actually embark on any marriage, there are certain things you need to put in place with your husband before you can actually say yes. And if those things are not actually properly done, you're going to be having issues when you eventually get into that relationship. And at that point, that was the very, very first time I would admit in the public that I'm a single mom. Before, I would always shy away from it. And that's because at that point, I've realized that why am I even hiding that part of me? Why am I hiding my children? Why am I hiding that part of me that existed through me? So you need to understand that sometimes you can actually acknowledge the fact that this part has happened, but you transforming what has happened to something better is how you begin to transform the journey. So you need to let go of negative self-talk. I still have it, and every day I try to silence it. And the more you keep silencing it, the better it gets. And you need to begin to reclaim your confidence. You take charge now. You are taking the power. Nobody is doing that for you. We are not waiting on somebody to come and do the work for us. And the third thing you need to do when it comes to transforming your journey is to rewrite your narrative. There are so many concepts I have given to myself that I can't overemphasize. As a single mom, I want to identify the story I want to be able to tell about myself. I am a woman that has been able to nurture her two children without a degree, and she has been up and doing. She has goals. She's working through her goals. She's working on the path of becoming better. She's living intentionally. She's building a life, a future that comes with so much confidence. She smiles. She's happy. You know, there are so many things you begin to tell about your story. And at the point in time, I begin to tell myself that what has happened to me has actually helped me open my eyes to the kind of woman I would actually want to become. And that is the woman I am following, that I'm trying to build now. So, what do you want to be, and what life do you actually want to create? Some of us don't have life outside the fact that we are married or outside the fact that we used to be under somebody else's influence. But this time, you are not under anybody's influence again. You are the one taking charge of your life. And because you are the one taking charge of your decisions, your affirmations, your narrative has to be based on your own concept, not the concept of somebody, not the concept of the others, not the concept of society, the culture or the religious notions, but your own inner narrative. And sometimes you can actually begin to remind yourself you're not just struggling, you are capable, you are resilient, you can become better, I can do better, and I can live better, and you are worthy to have a better life too. So the next thing you need to do to actually transform your journey is creating structures for growth. And this actually comes with your routine planning. You see, you can't heal in the environment that has broken you. You can't have transformation when you still keep carrying the mindset that has led you to where you are. You need to understand that for you to actually become better, to keep your growth in structure, certain things need to be put in place. Your routine has to be planned for productivity and self care. No side conversation that does not add value to you. That channel you are following on social media that is not helping you, remove yourself from that channel. That Instagram page you are always visiting that does not add value to your growth, you need to remove yourself. That celebrity you are following that will not enable you to see that part of you that needs to be worked on, you need to exclude yourself from that narrative. You need to plan your routine. In the morning, what do you do? In the afternoon, what do you do? In the evening, what do you do? At night, what do you do? How do you converse? What do you listen to? What do you put on? Every pattern of your life needs to contribute to your growth because everything will create a compound and ripple effect on the kind of life you should be having. So you plan your routine, and your routine has to submit to productivity. It has to be meaningful. What you're achieving at the end of the day needs to be tangible for your growth. You can't be trying to become a better version of yourself and you still keep walking on the path of destruction. So you also need to equip yourself with financial literacy and independence. And this is one thing I always want to talk about when it comes to being a single mother. It takes a lot, especially in terms of finances, for you to become better version of yourself. So you need to understand that your finances is like your baby and you really need to begin to work on it. You need to work on your education. You see, education goes beyond the four walls of a classroom. Just like what you are learning now, nobody is teaching us this in school. So you need to follow the channel that helps you, that uplifts you, that gives you motivation, transformation, discipline, that challenges you. And that is one of the things of me creating my Telegram channel. I'm going to be challenging you. I'm also going to be what? Giving you that empathy. Because once I push you to do something, I also applaud you that you can do better. And for you to have been able to get here, you can actually become better. You need to actually build your skill. I understand that some of us must have lost our job, our skill, our identity, but we are actually reclaiming our identity for growth. Every aspect of our life, the food we eat, the job you do, the career you follow, every aspect of your life needs to move closer, needs to work for your growth. And you can also begin to develop your career just like I did. I started navigating and asking myself a lot of questions. What can I do again? And by reading a lot of resources has actually helped me to become better. And you also need to build a strong support network. You see, the people you are friends with 5 years ago, you'll be surprised that you don't actually need most of them 10 years after because they might not be part of that strong support network. So, without systems, our old patterns resurface. Without system, old pattern may continue to thrive and also continue to determine our reality. Strong, you have a structure, it sustains your transformation. I actually have the book I used to write my goals, my dream, what I need to achieve each month, 3 month interval, every year, 2 years, 3 years, 5 years. And I begin to create habits. And subsequently, I'm also going to be creating, and I think I have habits that would actually help you become a better version of yourself. So you need to actually build systems. You need to build systems, pattern, pathway, habits that will actually help you become better to actually help your transformation thrive. And the step 5 is to face fear and uncertainty. You see, if there is one thing I would always love to talk about, is fear, started with uncertainty. Leaving the house with nothing, going back to the house with nothing, sleeping with nothing, waking up with nothing, not that you actually have any expectation that your next meal is coming from this place. It's so sad, it's so uncertain, it's so scary, it's fearful. But transformation requires stepping into discomfort. You have to face that part of you so that when you have that money you are looking for, you will know what to do with it. So that when you have that house you are yearning for, you will know what to do with it. So that when you have access to good things, you will know how to value it. So that you can know that that man that is trying to get your attention, hmm, does he deserve that attention? So that you will know how to make necessary choices that will help you become better. You would know that living toxic relationship is actually uncertain, it's fearful. But if you don't, you won't be able to step into that life you want for yourself. Some things requires you pursuing dreams despite limited time. I remember there was a time I had to search on Germany and AI how long it actually takes for women, single mothers to achieve a dream, a career. And he told me something that as a single mother starting with nothing, from nothing, it takes time than regular people because you are operating from limited resources. You are operating from limited time. You are operating from limited finances. You are operating from emotions and mentals that still need to be put in place, not to mention the motherhood aspect. But the reality is that if you don't step into that discomfort, you won't have that transformation you're looking for. I am still trying to battle with a lot of things, but I can say that I am better because where I'm coming from is far worse than here. And for me to have been able to overcome those aspects of my life, it shows that I'm going places. So you need to learn to say no to expectations that don't serve you. Even if it is somebody that is trying to give you help, and you look at it from afar, realize that this person will not even add value to me. So you have to learn to say no. Courage is not absence of fear, it is taking action despite the fact that you are so scared. And the reality is that, which is very important for you to actually work on, how you can actually transform your journey, is to celebrate strength and resilience. I am actually creating some videos on my channel that Subsequently, I want to be watching those videos. I even told myself that I want to have some yearly reflection on how I spent each year. And because of that, I want to be able to talk about my awakening, my transformation, my challenges, how I'm able to navigate all those parts. And because of that, when I look at those things, I remember how much I've been able to overcome. When I look at some of my journals in my book, I always remember how much things I have done, how much decisions I have taken, how far I have come. A lot of things that I thought would not be possible when I was planning to get accommodation, when I was planning to get a stabilized job. Now I have a job that can actually cover my feeding fee and my children's school fee every month. Then I believe that subsequently I'm going to be working towards getting money for my business. At least I'm building the foundation for 2026 so I can feed conveniently and I can also put my kids in school conveniently. Then subsequently, I can start working on my business, working on my home, and working on. And I figure that I have come this far out of a lot of things that are not enough. So it shows that I can also go further than this if I'm willing to continue to tread on that path. So your journals, your daily victories, the things you've been able to overcome will serve as a reminder. And when they remind you, you'll be so proud that you have been able to become better. You have been able to take a lot of decision out of the fact that a lot of things are not even enough. So have you ever even questioned or asked yourself, how was last year? How was this year? What were you able to overcome last year that you thought you wouldn't have overcome? And that happened. And you are living in that. Imagine when I was at my sister's place, I was dreaming to have a house. I have a house now. Even if it is not 100% what I would have wanted, I noticed that there are certain things I can do to actually make the house feel like a home. But it is a step at a time. 2026 now is about feeding properly, paying my kids' school fees, and working on the foundation of my brand. 2027 is going to be about transforming my home. I actually want to renovate my home and do a lot of that. I thought by then I would have financial capability to do all that. 2028, I'm going to be working on my ready to wear business again. 2029, I'm going to be working on the ready to wear to make sure it stands well. And 2030, I am planning to move from the house I'm living to another place that is going to be more comfortable because I know my business by then would have at least expand to an extent. So, I figured that I have to take it a step at a time because it is a journey. And I'm trying to acknowledge my survival, my growth over the years, my daily victories. So, you need to look at those things. You need to see those things as things that it was not easy then, but you were able to overcome all those things. So you need to have a reflection or gratitude journal or anchor that will remind you that you've been here. I have a lot of books in my store that I've been able to keep track. And I even write every time. So most times when I look at those books, I'll be like, wow, I have done this. Though I was not able to do this, but I've been able to understand this. And even the more I keep reflecting, I realize that some things that I don't have, I don't actually need them. And some things I have now, I don't even appreciate them because those are the things I'm using to get what I don't have directly, indirectly. So, there are something I actually want you to understand when you begin to embark on this journey of transformation, and those are the realities you must accept. You need to understand that sometimes transformation can feel messy. It's going to be as if the things you feel you have walked past before, you feel that they are coming back to you. It is probably a part of you that you need to acknowledge, or it is probably about something about yourself that you have not been able to address, and that will keep resurfacing. And there's this saying I usually say that history will continue to repeat itself until you change something about yourself. You might be drawing your attention back to maybe a decision you're supposed to have taken, or something you should have speak up to, or a kind of lifestyle you should have adopted that you are kind of not submitting or not surrendering to the process. So emotional overwhelm may resurface. There are days that you go out again and you feel that I thought I have gone past this. I thought that this is not going to be happening to me again. Those are realities that happens in transformation. Or probably some old insecurities may return. I remember when I was actually asking myself, will I remarry again? Do you know what I told myself? Never. I can't. Because I can't even imagine myself being under the influence of any man. But there was a time I remembered again, I was like, why is it that I don't want to get married again? But I think having a companion is a good thing. but there are some certain things about myself I need to work on. So sometimes you might understand that there are parts of you that you really need to work on. Maybe you have some insecurity issues as well. The reason why your marriage is not working out is not actually about your ex-husband or your partner alone. It might actually be something you are contributing subconsciously, consciously, directly, or indirectly that is affecting that relationship. Or people may not support your changes. And I always ask that every now and then. People will be like, I even still meet people. As at 2 days ago, there was one imam in my former area that still told me, you can't live alone. You can't have a life alone. You can't do it alone. Even my ex-husband, the mother, also sent a voice note that actually was actually triggering some aspects of me I thought I have gone past. But there are realities you need to accept about transformation. And secondly, heartbreak and disappointment can occur. Maybe when you feel that, let me at least try another relationship. People even force you or even push you to take up another man. That is happening because there are certain things about yourself that are not understood. And in the single motherhood ebook I want to write, there are certain things that usually happen to us as regards to this relationship. That is, maybe you get pregnant with somebody again. You see, these are the realities of things that happened. You get pregnant for this person again, or you fall into the situation of moving into the but this person gets accommodation for you and you have to leave the house again, but this person duped you. These are the things that happen again being a single mother. But they are lessons, they are not failures. They are just helping you walk through the path so that even when your child, your daughter, your son, or people around you come to you with this idea or this concept, you will know how to address it. And even if you're going to be chosen 2, 3 years, 4, 5 years later, you know exactly where to choose from and what to choose from. And also, it might also be about how you can actually rebuild your self-esteem or toxic relationship, and you begin to ask yourself that I thought this part has gone, but they are not actually they are not actually failure. They are actually lesson, and lesson will always serve as a stepping stone for you to become better, for you to actually transform your journey as a single mother. There is something I actually added on that is actually one of the anchor I have been able to use to become better. I know this video is quite lengthy, but it is something I would always recommend for every single mother to watch because it is based on my life, my journey, my transformation, and I have been able to become better. And this is about tools and practices for transformation, you see. Your transformation has to be based on some certain pillars. And these pillars are the things that would help you maintain the start of your decision. The first one is self reflection. You see, always try to keep track of your growth and release negative energy. This is very important. You need to always reflect on yourself. And this reflection gives you a kind of auditing to your life. What is going on? What is working? What is not working? What should I be working on? How do I improve? What am I supposed to leave behind? What am I still holding on to that is affecting me? You'll be so surprised that there are some things that is happening to you that you still keep choosing because you have not reflected on them. And I talked about these three main concepts in one of my shorts, I think in 2025, that is actually about the three things you need to change your life, reflection of the past, analyze the present, and plan the future. Reflection of the past is about the things that has happened before. How did it happen? Why did it happen? And what kind of effect did it have on you? And that is by analyzing the present. Presently, how are those decisions you have taken before affecting you? And the decisions you're taking now, how is it affecting you? And plan the future. What has happened before? What is happening now? How do you make sure some of them don't follow you to your future? And how do you also make sure some of them stays with you to your future? And the second tool, which is very important for you to actually transform, is boundaries. You see, some people don't deserve to be in your life anymore. And I think it is one thing we need to understand as single mothers. Some things, some decisions, some emotional weight does not deserve to be in your life anymore, just like people and things. So you need to protect emotional and physical space to prevent burnout and regression. If you don't want to keep going back to those habits, those lifestyles that does not help you, please let go of some people that are giving you burnout, that don't support your dream. Even if you have only one friend or you don't even have any friend at all, that's okay. As long as you have yourself and your mind same, not your mind insane. You have your mind sane. That's enough. I remember that I don't even have friends. There's only one person I know that's been my friend for a while, and that is her name is Risco Coco. She's a very good friend of mine. She's not married yet, but I think when I talk to her, she gives me this perception of myself to keep thriving and never give up. So those are the people you need in your square, not just people that will keep taking you back, that will make you regress. And the third thing is learning and growth. You see, books, podcasts, mentorship, online courses, empowerment programs will keep you ahead as a single mother. You need a whole lot of that. 2026, I'm investing in books to read. I have one, which is The Rules of Wealth. I want to read on Ego is the Enemy and also Psychology of Money. These three books, I want to make sure I cover them for 2026 at least. So you need to be able to keep learning. As you learn, you keep growing. And also, you need community. You need to belong where you are loved, where you feel present, where you feel alive. Because sometimes these things can actually be a blindfold, a sabotage to your growth, and you need to be mindful. You see, mindfulness is about every single thing you do. You need to be mindful of the kind of people you talk with. You need to be mindful of the kind of food you eat. You need to be mindful of the kind of things you listen to. You need to be mindful of that thing you are buying. You need to be mindful of your children. Practice presence. Be present. You know, you need to be present so that you can manage stress and maintain clarity. Be present in every aspect of your life. And I understand that as much as you don't want to be present in something, but try as much as possible to be mindful. And the last thing, which is one of the important tools you need to practice for transformation, is to celebrate yourself. Your body. You're beautiful in your own skin. Take care of your body. Take care of your health. Take care of your mental health. And whatever you are able to achieve, even if the only thing you are able to achieve in 2026 is to put your kids in good school, that is still success that requires celebration. Even if the only thing you are able to achieve in 3 months is to be able to buy laundry baskets in your house, that is also success, an achievement that needs acknowledgement. I remember then, I'm going to set a whole lot of goals for myself. 2025, like I said, the major thing I'm able to achieve this year is clarity. Understand that easy does is. Understanding a lot of concepts about life. 2026, I told myself, if it is just to feed my kids and pay for their school fees conveniently, that is also progress. The 2027 will continue again. So acknowledge achievement no matter how small, make them the markers of your own progress. So, transforming your story as a single mom is intense. It can be painful when you look back at your life today, when you remember some things and you feel that, wow, I have been this woman. But it is actually beautiful because that story you are holding on to is going to be somebody else's motivation if you are able to transform your life. So you will face doubt, you're going to face neglect, you're going to face judgment, you're going to face fear, you're going to face heartbreak. But these do not define you. You have the power to rewrite your narrative. You have the power to take charge of your life. You have the power to reprogram, to rebuild your life. You have the power to create a life aligned with your values, that aligns with your purpose and joy. And I think you need to remember what I will always say to every single mother, remember, every struggle, every fear, every victory is part of your transformation. The story you tell yourself today shapes the legacy you leave tomorrow. So the question is now yours. How do you actually want to rewire your life? How do you actually want to transform your life based on everything I have talked about so far? If you enjoy content like this, subscribe, join the community, and also join my Telegram community where I transform your life, my life, with my understanding and experience as a single mother. And I'm going to be seeing you in my next one. Bye.